I took my intro to computer science class while I was filling a prerequisite in college, and I loved it. My favorite part about working in tech is that I'm not an artistic person, but it's the way that I feel like I get to create something that I can leave behind. Obviously, people are going to rewrite it and make it better, but I've done something good that has affected people. Before joining government, I was a software engineer at Google. Coming out of college, I had an internship at HP my last summer in college. And then from there, it just became a full-time offer. And I went to HP and I was there at HP Boise working on LaserJet drivers for 6 years. And then after that, I went to Google where I worked on cloud print. So a lot of printing in my life. I first learned about tech and government when I was introduced to someone who worked at the US Digital Service. And they were telling me about projects they worked on. The one that hooked me, honestly, was helping veterans get health care. So I was part of the USDS headquarters team, which was in the White House. So I was moved around across agencies. So I worked with the Department of Education, I worked with the State Department, I worked with the Department of Homeland Security, and eventually I was the Director of Engineering at USDS. I have to say that my favorite project was the Refugee Admissions Program project. A team was brought together between USDS, the Department of Homeland Security, and the State Department, and we all worked together to figure out how to streamline the process for getting refugees safely into the country. The problem we were having is that in the midst of the refugee crisis back in 2016, like the United States had promised the world that we would bring in 80,000 refugees. And we were not anywhere near on track to hit that number. And so we were brought in to help understand why it wasn't happening and to figure out what things we could do to try to speed up the process while still maintaining its integrity. This was important because we had promised people an opportunity to get out of some not good situations to come to America, and we were just trying to keep up with our end of the deal. We solved the problem a few different ways. First, we mapped out the process. So it was clear what the steps were, and whenever anyone involved was speaking to each other, we all knew which steps we were talking about, and we could answer questions based on data more appropriately. As an example of a process change, we created a tool that would allow us to automatically transfer details from one system to another, as opposed to having humans, manually type information from one system to another. And that cleared out, for example, it cleared out a backlog of thousands of medical checks that people were waiting on, which sped up a lot of processing time. As a result, we were able to increase the throughput of the system, and I think the final number we ended up with was 79,996 refugees came in that year. And you should note, it takes an act of Congress to go over the 80,000. So we had to give ourselves a little bit of buffer. A lot of times we're working on these projects and we don't necessarily get to see the people that we impacted. And there was one time when we found out about one refugee family who, we knew what flight they were coming in on, and we couldn't go and meet them, but a member of our team did and took a picture with them. And so we got to see a family when they stepped foot on America's soil for the first time. The emotions I felt when I saw that picture were relief and happiness, and I think a little bit of hope. The jobs can be very frustrating sometimes. You work hard, you don't always get everywhere you want to go, but every once in a while you get that breakthrough and it makes it all worth it. In government, you have a lot of restrictions, whether they're personal technical process, bureaucracy, red tape, whatever it might be, you have to make a lot of compromises. And although that's also the fun part, it's like solving a puzzle, trying to figure out how to get around this and still help people. But the worst part is sometimes you can't do the thing that you wanted to do, and you have to do a thing that's good enough. I was there through a transition, and I realized that it doesn't matter who's in charge, the government still needs to function, and we need to provide services to our people. While some parts of the environment changed, the mission never changed. And whether you like who's there or not, people still need the services that the government is supposed to provide. Veterans still need healthcare. I don't care who's president. Since leaving government, I joined Devoted Health, which is a healthcare startup, and it's been a lot of fun because we've built up basically a healthcare company from the ground up. And my role at Devoted is one of the founding engineers. I came out of government with a level of confidence that I didn't have before, and that allowed me to join a startup. And I joined the startup early. We have grown it into a very successful company, and I would never have dreamed of doing anything like that had I not gone on this governmental adventure. If you're thinking about joining government, I say join it. If there's anything that seems interesting to you, whether it's the prospect of helping people or just understanding how the government works, or even how it functions during a transition, anything like that, then you should think about joining. For the most part, government services exist to help people who are in some way vulnerable and require government assistance. And when you think about it, when you're helping people deal with their student loan debt, or you're helping people get healthcare, or you're helping people with their Social Security, or you're helping small businesses, these are issues that affect millions of people in a very deep and real way. And by being a technologist in government, you're able to help these people. If you're interested in the public sector or civic tech, there are a lot of different organizations that you can work with to get more experience. So you could either join government directly at the city, state, or federal level. You could join an organization like Code for America. You can find ways to volunteer. There are a lot of options for anyone who's interested in finding more about this space. It is really important that we get more technologists in government, because there are so many people who are working on making sure that the services that are supposed to serve American people are functioning. And sometimes it's the technology that prevents these things from happening. There is still so much work to be done. And when you look around at how the government works, if there is anything that you look at and you think it shouldn't be this way, then you should go and fix it. No one else is going to fix it for you.